shida ya watu siku hizi. Everybody sijui mumeogopeshwa, sijui even you gena. Naona rudi uingie hii majenzi, nyinyi ndio the story of the future. Fight for your rights bwana. Sio kukakaa hapo mambo mali yenu ichukuliwe na nini, mumeitolea jasho. Msikubali. Pambaneni, muhakikishe mumepata haki yenu. Mnasikia nyinyi? Sio kukaa hapo tu. Kuna kitu inadumu. But everything is worth a fight for. If you don't fight for it, ikienda mtu asilie. Msimame mupiganie haki yenu. Na mko na hawa watoto wamebaki ambao wako tayari kupigania haki yao. Waungane pamoja nanyi. Can't just stand there and let people take your hard-earned sweat. Dunia iendi namna hiyo. Muwe watu ambao hawataogopa, wataishi kama my friend. Ameenda detention, si alitoka na akaendelea na maisha. Hata nyinyi teteeni haki ze. Sio kukaa tu munaogopa. Kuogopa sasa ni sisi tutulie sisi. Ninyi ndio mko na nguvu ya kupambana na hiyo watu. But we are behind you. Muendelee namna hiyo.
One of the issues that came up, I was there, I've been appointed, and I went to my seniors and I told them this is how we want to structure delivery in the Republic of Kenya. Because we discovered there are so many offices, so many centers doing the same thing. And I said it's not possible. Because not unless we want to do this so that every office can feel they are doing something to please the head of state. I said, can we help the president in a better way? Can we corrupt all these small things, like 5 or 6, into one? I have the people, we're able to work so that we can deliver. Now, a lot of what I proposed was not done. There is a lot of structural issues, many issues about, you're supposed to work. What happens? The issue of the working issues and other issues. In short, there's been a lot of frustrations, and I don't want my name. I have a history. I have a record where I've come from for the last 10, 20 years, where I've worked before in my county of Nakuru. What I've done, I don't want to come and mess it here because I got a job. If the work cannot be done, I don't want to be associated. Because what will happen, one day somebody will ask me, why didn't you deliver? Then I'll say I had issues. They will ask me, why didn't you say then? Why now? Then something will happen. Everybody will go. It will be said that the guy who is head of GDS is this one. I better speak early today to say, I don't think the kind of how the government tracking delivery work is being done is going to produce the results that we promised Kenyans. That is what I think. That's my thought. I have not thought about this today. This is something I've been thinking for the last 6 months. Giving advice, by the way. When I say consistently, I've met everybody else who is my senior to try to tell them how we are going to work. And since they announced my appointment in a big way, in a big rally where the president was, the then deputy president, everybody in Nakuru, and they said, we have given your somebody from your village here the work to help us as a country. I had to go back and tell the nation I am no longer there, so that nobody will stop me to ask me anything about this government. And if you try something genuinely, with all the passion, it's not accepted, you don't fight. You just say, well, I'll just come in to help. If it's no longer possible, I'll just walk away. No, hakuna mabishano. There's no need of trouble. That's why I just said, it's okay. Wacha ifike mwisho. I've tried. It's not possible. But number 2, very importantly, it's not possible to do development in a toxic political environment. Let me say this again. It is not possible. Anytime development sees conflict, it runs away. Anytime development sees conflict, you can only do projects and program when people are at peace and they are appreciating. So when the political environment as it is today becomes so toxic, when people are standing leaders abusing other communities openly, when they are abusing other people, how do you take development to them as government? If today I go on radio or TV to begin talking about projects, the people are hurt because they were abused very badly. It cannot work. So either we decide that we suspend performance and delivery of government until after the elections, because it's not possible to do both. Toxicity in the atmosphere cannot go hand in hand with performance and delivery. So I'm an expert on leadership and governance, I can tell you. I'm an expert on delivery. That's what I've done for the last 2 years I've been in this government, and it's not possible. So if we decide as a nation that we want to suspend everything else, we do politics and abuse every other person, including leaders. They go abusing each other community. You are causing hurt feelings. You are causing pain. You cannot go and promise them projects. It's not possible. So why should I spend my time in something I know is not productive? I would rather just say, kila mtu aitoka kwao. You know, hakuna haja kubebana hivi. Mnabebwa hivi namna hii. Kila mtu aitoka nyumbani kwao. Kikiumana anaambia please, pole nilikuwa nimetoka kwetu, wacha nirudi kwetu nyumbani. It's as simple as that. Some of us are professionals and we don't do things because of salary. We do this because of a cause. We want to do something, to be told on the year of the road this and this. There were some people who came here and they delivered. There is a big hue and cry about unfinished projects for government. Our work was supposed to go on the ground and look at what is being happening and make sure it happens. If it's not happening, I don't want to be part of that game because it's going to mess my name for nothing. Why?
Welcome to Fireside, the home of politics, policy, and polity. This evening, you are very lucky to have Mr. Charles Owino. Charles Owino has got many hats, and I'll give us a full introduction. Fanya Mambo, Kinuthia. Today is appearing that he's lost a bit of his energy, but nevertheless, we'll go ahead with the conversation. Now, allow us to refer to you as Charles.
Yes.
So before we go to the meat of the conversation, who is Charles Owino? Recently, I mean, the last time we heard about you, you were running for political office, and then at some stage, you were recalled back to the service.
Yes.
Then we understand you went to small arms, and then right now you're running NDC. Initially, people thought that that was a National Defense College.
First of all, it is not NDC, it is NCC.
NCC.
National Communication Center.
Yes.
And also, it is not true that when I came back from campaign, I went to small arms. Just in around early 2020, mid 2021, I was removed from the office of the police spokesperson and transferred to, I was moved from my position as Director Corporate Communication. And though my rank was not, I was not demoted by rank, but I was demoted in office because I was taken as a deputy director in charge of small arms. One reason was because I had declared publicly that the following year in 2022, I was going to run for a political seat, and that was a Siaya gubernatorial seat. And, this country, people have different feelings. Some people think if you're a policeman, you came from your mother's womb as a policeman, that me, nimezaliwa tu polisi. That there's nothing else about me. I'm not even a parent, I'm not even a brother to someone, I've not even gone to school, and mimi ni polisi. So saying that you want to become even, go for such high political position, some people feel it is not right. I also remember that one of my major challenges was I had a discussion on TV that morning, the day I was removed, and somebody asked a question. Are you going still to employ officers with D+? And I said, why not? I didn't know that my minister had said that they were only going to employ graduates.
To the National Police Service?
The National Police Service. And I said, no, it's not practical. What we look at police is not degree. What we look at police is the intellect content of an individual. Police service is a very complex service that police officers, no matter how junior they are, they find themselves in situations where they have to act on their own without opportunity to refer to their books or their superiors. It's not like military. Military, you plan operations. After you've planned operations, like you've seen now, the kind of war we have, it's kind of a very different kind of war. It's not war where you fight physically. It's war where you send missiles are sent, you are programmed. Are you getting me? So even police officers, unlike military, a constable on a street patrolling, a robber attacks, he's armed, people are crowded, he must think very fast. Because if he does not think very fast, that robber would kill him.
Mm-hmm. It follows.
So he must think very fast. And also, if he uses his firearm carelessly, he may kill a bystander. You have an AK-47. What is the distance projection of an AK-47? You can even kill 6 people on a row. So police officers, he will not even go to his book. He has no time to check. So that is why level of intellect quantity, and that is why we used to carry out IQ tests when you are picking people. So what we say is that even if you have a degree, even when today I want to employ degree holders, I must get to know out of these people, even if you all had A plane, because some people get A plane unfairly. So we must get an intellect quotient, your level of intelligence, and get to know among these 7 A's, who can we pick for this position? Mm-hmm. So let me go back. I was born in Siaya, in a place called Alego. That's where I was born. But unfortunately, when I was 7, I lost my dad. So I had to move to my home village. I had to go to my uncles, my maternal uncles. So I grew up there, went to school, and then later joined police service and came back. I worked in the general duty kidogo, then I became a DCI officer, also worked for a number of years. Then we were taken back to general duty. I became an OCS, an OSPD, found myself at police headquarters, became a police spokesperson. And then later I went to vie for the position of Governor Siaya. Then unfortunately, towards the last minute, Honorable Raila Odinga called me for a meeting in Serena and said, no, we are not carrying out nominations because we have realized it will cause a lot of divisions. But I had information that given his background and the years that they have walked along with Orengo, he had no capacity to say no. And it was going to be shame to them that a policeman was going to beat Orengo in nominations. So I decided to join up with Honorable Gumbo. I went for Honorable Gumbo. He didn't go for me. And I told him, because you ran last time, and I know his ego, he would not have accepted to be my deputy, I offered myself to be his deputy. So I went, when we did our first rally, the following day my retirement was cancelled. And I was asked to go back to service. I had nothing I could do. I was only 51 years old. So I went back to service. When I went back to service, I found an Inspector General who was beaten, who was scared of me. So he said no. So I went back to the streets. And up to now, as I speak, literally, I'm not retired because I still hold the letter which reinstated me. And it was not against regulations. In 2017, Public Service came up with the regulations that all civil servants who went to run and did not attend nominations, they were allowed to go back to work. Many of them are still in service, they were allowed. So mine was not strange. But then later, after this government was in place, together with Odoyo Owidi and the rest, Odoyo used to be a chairman of a parastatal before. So this government gave us jobs. So I was made chairman of the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication. I was also made the chairman of UDA in Siaya on acting capacity. But then later, the government wanted to form the National Communication Center, and I was invited for that discussion, and I felt it was okay. I would go and run. No, before that, I sat for an interview to be government spokesperson.
Can you get the cat out of the bag?
No, I can't. I still work for government. The appointment could have been a bit controversial. I can't get involved in that discussion. I'll be unfair. I'll be like Minister Muturi.
Now, just talking about Muturi,
yes,
and abductions in Kenya.
Yes.
Who is fooling who?
You know, my background is investigations.
Yes.
And every matter must start from a point of investigations. I've heard of so many people abducted. The issue is, the word is abduction, not arrest.
Yes, the word is abduction.
The word is abduction. People are saying they're abducted. a number of quarters of government, because I'm not actively involved in police, the DCI, and the general duty. Let's put NIS slightly out of it, and I'll explain why we need to put NIS slightly out of it. When any person is arrested in this country, he's supposed to be taken to a police station, be booked, and if you want to keep him for more than 24 hours, you go to court and you ask the court, you tell the court why you have arrested him, you give very good reasons, and then you keep the person for a longer period of time. That's taken. My worry is only one. So far, these people who have been abducted, I've not seen them come out clearly, and I would want to know how many, because there are so many. I've not seen them come out very clearly, and because if you look at them, hakuna ile emaciated, you can say this one was not eating, this one is sick, this one amepigwa. Are you getting me? They look okay. So it means they must have been somewhere eating, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Talking to some people. So it would have been very nice if they can come out and tell us where they were. Because you see, that would be very important for us as a point of what? Investigations. Now, the person I've had clearly where he was Honorable Muturi's son. Because Muturi says he called all these agencies, DCI, Inspector General, head of NIS, and he was never told. And remember, Muturi was a member of the National Security Council. Mm-hmm. But when he went to see the president called. And they are alleging, I'm still using alleging because I can't prove, that the president talked to the head of National Intelligence Service and he admitted having him. Are you getting me? This boy is an adult. He could even be 30 plus, I'm sure. Number one, I don't know why his father is speaking for him. It's painful for a father. If your child just gets lost, we have to admit that. But you must also know to what extent you can go with certain issues. Number one, why are you speaking? It shows a sign of a spoiled child. Why are you speaking for your son? I would want to see this boy come out and tell us even what he was questioned on. Because he must have been questioned if he was there. So what I want to say about NIS is our secret agency. Every time an incident occurs, like those bombings, people are killed in an hotel, people are killed in a supermarket, the first question is, where was
NIS?
I can tell you, even in very developed country, they don't talk about their NIS. They don't talk about their secret agencies. They have systems of how they can question them. If this boy was picked, I am sure there must have been a reason and he must have been questioned. What I cannot encourage as a person, from my experience, is picking people randomly and not saying, in case government is involved in this, the strategy must just change. Because I'm sure government cannot pick you for nothing and cannot pick you to scare someone. Now, where I don't agree with the former Attorney General is usually, even in cabinet, you can disagree. I still consider him a member of the cabinet. And you cannot have access to the president the way he got. So he got that access by the virtue of being a cabinet minister. When he's speaking to the president, he's not speaking to the president as Muturi. He's speaking to the president as Minister of the Republic of Kenya. It is like a mini cabinet. And in a cabinet, whatever you discuss and agree, when you leave out, you don't discuss it. I've always said, things can be done which are wrong, but two mistakes don't make a right. Because you can ignite fire, my brother, that you cannot control. And if the country today breaks, like those arguments, people saying, let's go to State House, let's take over. We are lucky that we have a constitution, we have a democratically elected government. And in parliament, we have all sorts of political parties. It's just 1 year to elections. If we are honest as Kenyans, if whatever President Ruto is doing, we are not happy with it, tumngoje.
But now, Charles, one would argue
Yeah.
that the National Police Service,
Yes.
because there were claims that in fact, the allegations were that it's the National Police Service
Yeah.
behind the abductions. The IG came out and he says it's not the National Police Service. Don't Kenyans have valid expectations then that if it's not the National Police Service, the National Police Service ought to know? They need to tell us who is doing this. Because it appears there is an abduction cartel somewhere, either within the National Police Service or outside.
To be honest, even if I leave this place today and I'm just killed by robbers, isn't it? The National Police Service must tell Kenyans who eliminated Owino. You remember my friend Willis who was killed the other day? They had obligation to tell us. Therefore, it was not strategic for the IGP also to come up and say it is not me. He should come up and say, I have instructed the DCI, because falls under him, to carry out investigations and within 10 days, 7 days, tell me what he has found out. True or not true? He can't come out and say, I don't know. You know, it's like, you know, but you are running away from the fact.
So now, Charles,
Yes.
when the person who has been given the constitutional responsibility
Yes.
for law and order
Yes.
comes out in the public and he tells Moran Wanjiko that my service is not doing it and I don't know, what are we expected to do as Kenyans?
Unfortunately, he needed to have carried out his investigations. Even if these people would be with his colleagues, like now the case of Muturi, which he's coming out to say that his child was with NIS. It's a secret service. We don't discuss much of secret service. He would have gone to the National Security Council to discuss. And once they discuss it at the National Security Council, they need to come out and say, because there's nothing wrong to hold people. There's nothing wrong. If somebody is wrong, maybe is receiving money for incitement, for doing something, or is coordinating something, there's nothing wrong to say, we are holding these people. But equally, you must know, they can hold 1 or 2 people, but some people can also come up with a strategy. If you look at the tweet of Kabando Akabanda, I don't know whether you saw his tweet at one point, illustrating how things would be this year, and you look at what has been there this year, whether it was his imaginations which have come true, prophecy, you can see a chronology of events. But what we must know, what is most important, we must ask ourselves, what is important for this country? And that's why I'm still saying, 2 mistakes don't make a right. Government can also make a mistake, but as members of the public, we must rethink and say, how do we manage this kind of a situation? How do we put government to question? Because number one, I'm only hearing the public speaking. Where are the parliamentarians? They are the representatives of the people, because there are 3 arms of government. There's executive, there's judiciary, there's parliament. Parliament is supposed to
Oversight, representation, and making laws.
Yes. Are you getting me? So before even allow other people to speak, how do we even question the government on the floor of the House? How do we do it? You know, there are 2 ways I can call you stupid. I can say you are very stupid. I can also say, if I were you, I would have not done such a stupid thing. One is diplomatic. All the same, I've told you are stupid.
That is the bottom line.
Then you can explain to me, I've done such stupid, that thing you are calling stupid because of. And we still can come to agree. But no, the moment I call you a stupid, you will not even think to explain to me what it is. So what we are saying is, and also personal discipline in government. How do we manage our personal discipline? Your wife is wrong. Can you beat her in front of your children? Can you discuss issues mbele ya watoto. Are you getting me? Don't we have systems? Are these systems dead? Don't we have ways to negotiate? I've always told people, look at Sudan. They were very excited. They sent their president away. And if you send a president away and democratically, there are only two choices, that military will take over. Or the people who united to fight for this thing will start fighting who becomes president, who becomes this.
And it degenerates into a crisis.
Yeah. And any moment you allow your country to go military way, you are dead. It's like zile umbwa nasikia juzi, kuna umbwa ya mtu ilikula watchman. Those dogs must be killed because the human meat is sweet. It has a lot of chumvi. Hata simba akiua binadamu na akule, it's killed.
Because they've discovered a delicacy.
Yes. So military is an institution to protect us, not to govern us. It's to create defense. So the moment you are giving way for them to take over, then it becomes sweet.
Now, Fanya Mambo, from what Charles has indicated, it appears that the Inspector General of the National Police Service dropped the ball.
I think I'd like to start from where Justin Muturi left. Mm-hmm. He implicated the president in a very, very bad way because he said what he was telling Kenyans is if your child is abducted and you call the president will know who to call so that your child is released. And until that is unsaid, it remains that way. Kenyans have put it in their mind that the president knows who the abductors are. And he's the one who calls the abductors and tells them to release the children, which is a very, very not interesting place to be. But secondly, and it's very unfortunate, it's when the IG of police comes and tells you that there are people who came into Kenya and abducted a person of the character and size of Besigye and drove him across the country, all those kilometers from Nairobi to the border between us and Uganda, and the police are not aware. Do you know how serious that is? That people came, and you know, by the way, we are not told of a situation where Besigye sneaked into the country. Besigye came the correct way. He actually flew in, came and attended Mother Karua's launch of a book, so he was known where he was. And we are not told that he had no plans of returning to Uganda. In fact, they were foolish. They should have waited for him to just return to Uganda because he flew in and he was planning to fly back anyway. So when the police tells you that we do not know how it happened, that Besigye could have been, what does that tell even foreigners? If there is a man from the UK who wanted to come here for a holiday, and he's probably just maybe a civil servant there of some ranking, and he's heard that it is possible for you to be abducted in Kenya and driven for 450 kilometers, and the police do not know. And they have no problem with even those abductors. And by the way, that even after you've been delivered to the borders in Uganda, the police have not told us that we went back and did investigations. And you know, like if Besigye is seated here, I mean, our Kenya police is said to have a very good alliance with Safaricom. So they're able to tell which phones were surrounding him. So we've not heard of investigations and we've not been told these are the people who carried Besigye. So it tells the foreigners that if you go to Kenya, you can be abducted and driven for 450 kilometers and nobody will know and nothing will happen to you. It's a very difficult place to be. Now, I'd like to talk about Maria. I am extremely happy with that city hopper driver. Somebody help us to get him. We need to reward him. Na tupatiwe namba yake. I may not have a lot of money, but I can throw in the first 200 shillings. And if every other Kenyan joins me, we shall reward him handsomely. That city hopper driver did a good thing. But it goes to tell you what I was telling you about Kenyans. When they have a common enemy. Can you imagine nobody asked Maria, we ni Mujaluo, we ni Mkisi, we ni Mkikuyu? You know the way when we are trying to vote, we start asking, mwenye anasimama ni kabila gani? And I tell people, when we unite against a common enemy, tribe becomes a non-issue. They had no time to ask whether Maria was even Kenyan. They didn't even care. And by the way, they stood in harm's way. Those men had guns and at some point they pulled them out. And they started brand. But Kenyans did not care that they had guns. And they did not care to know whether Maria was Luya or Kisi or Masai. They just knew that this is one of us and her rights are being infringed upon. And they came to her defense. What I'm trying to say is that Kenyans have gotten to the point where our unifying factor is the 2010 Constitution. And we are doing everything to protect that Constitution and the rights that are provided for us in that Constitution. And I commend every Kenyan who did that. It so happened then in Nakuru and Kirinyaga, when they were saying no. In fact, in one of the clips I saw, it was either the Nakuru one or Kirinyaga, there was a police officer in uniform who chose not to interfere. She chose not to be part of that drama. She was like, no, I am not boarding. And she was there with her gun. And I felt that was a good thing, where we find a responsible way to govern this country. And the reason why Kenyans are angry is that government is saying they don't know who the abductors are. But conveniently, these abductors have a way of selecting people who appear to be fighting this administration. I haven't seen them abduct Kipchumba Murkomen's son or Kimani Ichung'wah's son. Somehow those abductors, they have no affinity for such people. They have a very high affinity for people who put TikTok videos of the president in a coffin and a few other things. I have always said I don't support that idea of putting the president in a coffin. But then I talked to them, they said, it's not the president we are putting in a coffin. It's his consciousness. We are saying his consciousness is dead because 80 young people are missing and nothing has been done about the fact that 80 young people are missing. Anyway, elected leaders. Shame on any elected leader who has not come out to speak about abduction, especially if you're elected on a UDA ticket. You know, out of all those things that an elected leader is elected for, representation is key. You must represent your people on the matters that affect them. And right now, the matters that is affecting our people the most is the fact that some young people are disappearing and being found maybe after a week. Sometimes the ones for Kitengela were found 4 months later. And I usually say, let us imagine that these young people are being abducted by people who want to paint the government in a bad picture. And let us imagine that they are being kept in a hotel and being fed, which I don't believe is true. The question then becomes, if you are the government and you have all the instruments of violence, why would you let your opponent do that to you? And you probably know who the opponent is. And if they wanted, they can reach the opponent. If I was president, I would fire the whole intelligence system if it's not telling me who is this, who is abducting children, putting them in a fattening camp, and then releasing them and painting the government as bad. If I was president, I would crash on those people. I would reach out to them. The fact that the government is not being seen to fight them, imagine the government is fighting its opponent harder than it is fighting those people who it alleges are trying to tarnish its name.
Now, Fanya, you've said that shame on the politicians who have not said anything. Why are you assuming that politicians have got capacity for shame, that they can be embarrassed?
Many of them lost it. Many of them lost. In fact, shame doesn't affect them. And that's why nothing seems to worry some of those ones. But all the same, I think I told the young people, what we need now as the next weapon is the phone. Anytime you see a politician elected, especially on a UDA ticket, run to where they are and tell them, we want your statement on abductions. Come 300, 400 of you around that politician, tell them, nobody will touch you, but you must give a statement. And because of the fear and trepidation, they will condemn abductions. If 200 UDA MPs or 150 or 100 of them condemn abductions, we send all those clips to State House so that State House can know its own MPs are fighting State House. But we have to get to a point where we make people not come before Kenyans and speak the way some legislators have been speaking as if it's a good thing. We are okay with criminals being arrested. We are okay with criminals being arraigned before court. We are okay with them making a bail if they have to pay bail, but we want to know where they are. Hata mtu akipatikana na makosa afungwe na tujue amepelekwa kamiti ama amepelekwa manyani, that's fine.
No, but Fanya, why are you profiling UDA MPs? Why not all elected leaders?
The reason is that those ones who have spoken in very condescending languages about abductions have all come from that party. You've heard what our engineer, Honorable Sudi, said. You've heard what Kamkatet have said. You've heard what... Wow. Farah Malim. Lord have mercy on that man. You've heard what he's also said about it. So those are the people we want to come and condemn abductions.
Now, Kevin, you've been silent for a while. The person who was speaking, J.B. Muturi, was it a lawyer Was it a cabinet secretary? Was it a former speaker or a former magistrate?
Let's be very clear. When J.B. Muturi's son Leslie was arrested in June, it was reported that he was interrogated by policemen, and when the president called, he was released. There is no abduction there. An abduction is created by the anti-President William Ruto brigade that created abduction. They created Gen Z. But there's something about human beings. You rub something into them many times, however untrue it is, they'll begin to pick it up as if it is true. Today, we are put to defend abduction, something that doesn't exist. I heard Owino say that he has observed the people who are supposedly having been abducted, and they look healthier than before they had claimed to be abducted. Let me tell you something. Fear alone is enough to make you thin however much food you are given. It is enough to take away your appetite. These people, wherever they are, they had no fear. They had no fear that they have been abducted, something is going to happen to them. If there was really abduction in this country today, people would be so fearful by now, the insults in social media would have even ended. These people who disappear and claim to have been abducted are people who take leave and let the politicians besmirch President William Ruto. Why wasn't Muturi talking? In fact, I've heard Owino say something very profound that I would like to carry along for a very long time. Leslie Muturi is described as a businessman. Why is the father talking for him? These people who have been coming back, and when they are interviewed by the media, they say they are not in the state of mind where they can tell their story. Let me tell you, the state of mind you are in, it is us to see, not yourself. Mad people don't know they are mad. People who are in a deplorable state of mind don't see. It is us who watch them and say, huyu tumwache kwanza. So this abduction thing, it has been rubbed into us multiple times. The only place where I want to blame the government, as these people smear the government with mud, there is nobody from the government side defending these positions. They are very serious questions. These people need to be asked. They are questions they need to answer. This same media that is rubbing abduction so much hard, sometimes I would like them, even if it is 1% of their time, to also ask these people who are stripping the president's wife and posting on social media, stripping the president and placing in a coffin and posting, also to stop that because it is not legal. It is illegal. When Gen Zs raided parliament, they breached parliament. Around the same time, they also banned Sunbeam Mall. And when Sunbeam Mall was banned, there is a person who lost 2 members of the family in that building. That news was only in the media for 1 day. But we have been told about Rex Masai multiple times. Even today, they are still talking about it, as if it's only his life that was life. Let me tell you, Besigye, I have heard Fanya Mambo talk about Besigye and Maria. One thing I know about them, their status in Kenya was not refugee. So, if they were arrested, I am not surprised. If they had come here as refugees, the government would be under obligation to protect them from their government. My brother, I heard Fanya Mambo talk about it is the people who are anti-government who are being abducted. How come they have not abducted Murkomen and Son? Of course, you know Murkomen and Son didn't go to the streets. You know Murkomen and Son wasn't giving money to Gen Zs to destroy property and life. We are not going to arrest innocent people. And these things you call abductions are not abductions. There is no abduction anywhere. Even those people, when they come back, I expect them to work with their lawyers to go and report that the people who abducted us look like this. This is my statement on the abduction. We were staying in a room that looked like this is where we were. There is nothing like that. They don't want to talk about it after that because the purpose of the so-called abduction has been achieved by the anti-Ruto rhetoric that smears the president dirty. And the people talk like they want the government to know overnight, without investigation, who are doing this abduction and who are not doing. How many people have even been killed, let alone abducted in this country? And years later, we have no idea who did it. Even Juma died during President Uhuru Kenyatta's reign. Jacob Juma. We have not known who killed him, and we are not hearing the media pursuing the matter the same way they are talking about the so-called abductions. We are not going to pretend that the government has its eyes anywhere can know. Yesterday, I even had somebody say that the people who are doing abductions use guns and what is it called? Handcuffs. And handcuffs. And they say that only police have them. Don't we have criminals shooting police here with guns? Where do they get those guns from? If they can get guns, they will get handcuffs. It's only that not many handcuffs are in the hands of criminals because it doesn't help them in their duty of crime. But those who abduct people, criminals who abduct, will have handcuffs. And let me tell you one more thing. Even if it is the police who does the abduction without instructions from the government, they are criminals. Criminal work is not limited to ordinary citizens. There are criminal people in the armed forces. There are criminals in churches. There are criminals in police force. There are criminals in our homes. So it is possible to have criminals everywhere, and they can acquire guns.
Owidi, you need help.
Please, just keep quiet. That you will say when it is your time. You see, these days, it's even worried when you talk, I look like I'm dead. Because there are certain things that pains you that you don't want to hear. But we will tell you. We will tell you again and again. So the whole thing that we have been discussing and again and again and again is a creation of a clique of mafia from Murima region who believe it is only them who can govern this country. Nobody else can. Nobody else should. And they plotted, planned, and raised funds to do this. And there are also people in this country who joined thinking it was an organic thing, not knowing they are entering a war zone in a war which is not theirs. So let me tell you, my brother, there was, during the Gen Z uprising, there was something called Salamu. And you happily spread people's numbers to be greeted. There were MPs who are coming from the Murima region. Out of the 8 MPs who were Salamud, 7 of them were coming from the Mount Kenya region. Do you know the reason why? Because there's somebody who wanted to be the kingpin of that area. And anybody from that area who opposed his position. Well, how did they end up banning 2 supermarkets belonging to one person in 2 different towns? That wasn't natural. That wasn't organic. That was planned. Because somebody believes, even if somebody can oppose him, let it be Owidi, but not somebody from Mount Kenya. So you want to talk about abduction, but you don't want to talk about Salamu. When an MP was stoned in an ambulance. You want to talk an abduction, but you don't want to talk arson when Uganda House was set on fire. You want to talk about abduction, but you don't want to talk about the breach of parliament when MPs were to run for their lives. You want to talk about abduction, but you don't want to talk about properties that have been destroyed. Economy that was losing 5 billion a day. And this abduction you are talking are about people who goes and stores themselves for a period as their bosses, vilify the government. This country must know it belongs to all of us, and each one of us is capable of governing it. We are not going to have a country where one community believes they can be the only ones which govern. Let me tell you about, today we are in Limuru 3. Limuru 1 was in 1966. It was to stop Jaramogi from being the vice president of Kenyatta. Limuru 2 was in 2012. It was to stop Raila Odinga from succeeding Kibaki. Limuru 3 was in 2024 to remove President William Ruto from power. These things, if they are not said, we are going to have a burning Kenya.
Now, Owidi, as we
Yes.
get a glass of water, because I think you used a lot of energy to express these points. Charles, how do we make progress? Because they can be referred to as abductions or allegations around abductions, or it could be genuine arrests. But from social media and even the international media, there's a stain on Kenya's reputation. How do we, for lack of a better word, how do we mend fences at the international space?
Yeah, first of all, it is good you have said about our reputation internationally. It's important that we get to learn about our moral obligations as a nation and get to learn how governments are run and role of government. What is the role of government to all of us? Government has a big responsibility to protect the sovereignty of this country and even the security of its people and ensure that our economy grows and we enjoy. You know, if our economy grows, we enjoy this country. We have so many people who are so immoral. But when they are on the other side, you may think they are angels. Those are some of the things we need to stop. And we need also to know what are our limits. We can fight here internally, but much of our fight, we should get a formula where much of our fight should not get out to give a wrong impression of the country. Even if you look at UK, you know, after, because of social media, UK has become very tough. They have come up with laws in parliament that would not allow you to do certain things that we do here. Promote such conflicts, like children drawing the president. It may look minor, but president is the symbol of unity.
National unity.
National unity is a symbol. The moment he takes oath of office, he's no longer William Samoei Ruto. He's His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya. And if we don't handle it well, to realize, you know, it's like you are a father, you are naked. Your children have a role to cover you. You don't call neighbors, come and see our father naked. No, you cover your father. We have a very robust constitution. The Constitution 2010 is very robust. And so many things happen, and I don't hear anybody talk about them. But as I've always said, I don't want to justify a mistake for another mistake. If something is wrong, it's wrong. And that is why the things which are happening now are wrong. I believe from where I sit, I may be corrected, that the issue of Gen Zs was not spontaneous. It's not something that just came up. It's just that we have a large population. Kenyan population, 70% is youth. It's positive to us. It can also be negative to us. You go to developed countries, now their population is aging. And that is why you get to British Airways, you find the air hostesses are 50 years old. You go to KLM, you find air hostesses are very old. And here getting a job is not very easy. So we have a large population of youth that are not employed. And every one of us should be thinking, how do we grow the economy of this country? And we must demystify presidency so that people can be able to know to become a president is not everything. A president is a worker, supposed to coordinate people, ensure that we can run an economy. Today, what disturbs me is that we have pillars. The Kenya Kwanza government had a manifesto which had pillars. These pillars, one of them is agriculture. Number 2 is housing. We have health. We have digital superhighway. And then lastly, it is agriculture, hospital, health. There is also environment. And there's one important one I'm forgetting. Which one is it? Apart from agriculture, housing.
At some stage, Fanya Mambo will remind us.
Yeah, it's okay, fine. So, no. Tourism is not. It is agriculture, it is housing, it is health, it is...
Industrialization?
It's digital economy. Why am I not Why am I not remembering?
And we
Anyway,
just make-
environment
we-
environment need to be the sixth one. Now, we should now have been seriously concentrating on, like now we have the social health insurance fund. If you had ask people who are criticizing Schiff, you ask them, how many funds do we have? They don't know. Are you getting me?
There's one seated on your left.
Yeah, they don't know. Oh, this guy?
Yes.
Do you know the funds we have under the Social Health Act, SHA?
They told us it's Taifa Care, which is now the...
No, not that they told you. Excuse me. Don't put yourself out of Kenya. You are allowed to put yourself out of Kenya Kwanza government. But be a Kenyan. And be present. Anyway, the Social Health Act, that is SHA, has 4 funds. It has the Social Health Insurance Fund.
Chief.
The Social Health Insurance Fund, you contribute, like the way we were contributing on NHIF. Monthly, you contribute.
Or if you have resources, you can pay annual.
Yes, you contribute. Then we have what we call the primary health care. The primary health care is treatment in level 1, level 2, level 3. That is health center and dispensaries. You are required going forward that you go to the health center, then they are the ones who refer you to level 4, which is at the sub-county. What is it about primary health care? The money for primary health care is supposed to come directly from Treasury. And as long as you have been registered as a member of SHA, Social Health Fund, you don't need to have contributed a shilling to access the primary health care. That is why government was asking, let everyone register even without paying a cent as a member. This is a very important, it's a Kenya Kwanza policy, but very important for us. Now, what will happen is that in this primary health care, this is where you carry out tests, like malaria is free. We require prenatal to be free. We require things like HIV, everything to be free. We require tests for immunization for children to be free at that level. It's a free level of treatment. Then the governors, and because you see, you need to take what we call, you need to have your biodata, so that somebody who has not been registered does not use the service, and also for purposes of controlling corruption. So the governors are supposed now to claim that money from the central government to run this program. Now, the challenge we have currently, which we should be discussing, is how do we ensure that every health center has a laboratory? How do we ensure that every health center has a pharmacy, hata kama ni kidogo? Because we need them. We should now be negotiating with our governors because health is devolved. They keep on saying health is devolved, but what they are looking for is the money, to be given the money. But I want to see a governor which has ensured that every health center amechukua pesa, because a lab even this size is enough for a lab. We can have a lab there, and we can have a pharmacy here in a health center. So they build that, they do this, and then we move forward. This is a very important thing. You can't just rubbish SHA. You look at the service this thing is supposed, and now question, how do we ensure that this works? That is the moral discussion we want. That is number one. Number two, we have another fund called critical
illness.
No, it's emergency, critical, and chronic illness fund. What it is supposed to do is that NHIF, when your money was exhausted, you go for a rambe.
Yeah,
what this process is supposed to do, this money is not coming from contributors. This money is also coming from Treasury, direct. So that when you have, let's say, cancer, and they have undertaken, you have exhausted your shift. Then what happens? The government is now supposed to come in, this fund is supposed to come in to continue doing what? Giving you chemos and the rest from this particular fund. Emergency, you can be a CEO. You have been shot in Lamu, or you have gotten an accident somewhere very remote. We are supposed to make sure that these health centers have ambulances, so that if there's an emergency, and you have to make sure that, it's like what I used to tell my friends when we were young. Twende tufanye harambee kwa moyo primary school ya nyumbani, tunaweza kufa tukiwa wadogo, wengine hawajaoa hata bibi yako na kazi, watoto wanaweza rudishwa nyumbani, wasome kwa shule mzuri kwa sababu hujui Mungu atakuweka mpaka lini. So we are saying that even these health centers, you get a heart attack, you are at home. Going to Kisii General Hospital is far. You need the immediate health center. It should be working 24 hours. Yes, you can get emergency attention. Services. Ama mtu amekukata na panga, or somebody has shot you. This is a very important fund. We should be asking, why is it not working? Because maybe Treasury still does not. Do we rubbish it because it's a new thing that is supposed to support us? Number 3, we have another primary health, we have critical and chronic illness fund, emergency fund, and lastly, we have hospital infrastructure fund, where every year there will be money which is sent particularly to improve on the infrastructure of the hospital. Sometimes I sit back and I say, I wish Siaya people made me a governor, because they don't know what they have lost. But it's unfortunate. We will develop our children and other things. So what I'm saying is that fund is supposed to improve on the infrastructure. You see, like when CDF came, it has really improved infrastructure for primary schools. Maybe wewe umezaliwa juzi, sisi wakati tulizaliwa, our primary schools, we used to get jiggers.
You are in a class with no doors nor windows.
Yes, but CDF has really supported many schools now, even in the rural, are doing well. So what I'm saying is, such a pillar, don't get to know what it is. If it is not working, ask yourself, why is it not working? Let us debate this thing through our leaders and say, how best? I can tell you personally, I talked to my governor. And when she and Shah came, I told him, please, Governor, don't criticize this thing. Get to know exactly what it is. This is the thing that will help you even to be re-elected. Please encourage our people to get registered, as many as possible, because primary health care is cheap. Same applies to, just a minute, same applies to agriculture. Same applies to digital superhighway. We want it to go about 100 kilometers, 100,000 kilometers, so that every part of the country can access Wi-Fi, and therefore we can be able to be on top of things. Now,
I wanted to give you from the audience.
Yes.
That a member of the audience has said that you want to dodge my question about these abductions. And
No.
Our international reputation.
No. I was talking about, So what I'm saying is, I'm not dodging. I'll go back to that. I'm trying to give the moral aspect of matters which must be discussed. Now, I want to go back to abductions. The opposition in this country are trying to fault. I was giving this because we are faulting government. I was just trying to show what it is. We are faulting government about this without knowing even what it is. Now, the issues of our secret service, the NIS, they have a role to fix the security of the country. I am praying that they carry out their investigations with support of CID, so that I hope in less than 1 month time, if there is anybody they held, because they have not told us, apart from the minister's son that I'm told was released, if there's anybody who was held, number one, I would request that there is nothing wrong to tell Kenyans we are holding so and so. But you see, it cannot come from NIS. NIS is a secret service. I know that you are getting me. It's a secret what? Service. It should come out, and nobody should blame the DG, NIS, even if you find he's holding someone. And people think that he cannot hold. He can. But these are things we never discuss in public. He can hold you. Because how do they get information from you?
Does he have constitutional powers to hold citizens?
Yes, he has. But you see, this is a secret service. You've even seen where they have said that they can even go to court and get a court order. Are you getting me?
Below the
It's
radar.
wrong. The person who did that act was not well informed. You see, before, NIS used to work under Commissioner of Police. I don't know whether you know that.
Special branch.
Special branch. The overall towering person was Commissioner of Police. It is us, through activist actions, because we said NIS was holding people in Nyayo House and torturing people. Are you getting me? Tuanyanganye certain powers, like those powers of arrest and the rest, and therefore they could only arrest through
The National Police Service.
National Police Service. But you see, they are equally very independent, and they have a responsibility to do what? To gather information. So the person who should be directing us is the Inspector General, because the director of CID falls under him. There is no day the Director General of NIS, there is no day the Director General of NIS will even come out in the media to speak to you people. It is not an international standard practice. His duty is to gather evidence, give it to the right people. So police can pick you, and police can work, because you know about the National Security Committee. You know about even the Sub-County Security Committee. If you go, you come from Embakasi?
No.
Where? Dagoretti. If you go to Dagoretti today, in the Dagoretti Sub-County Security Committee, there is an NIS officer. There is a DCI officer. There is the OSPD and his team. So today, police can pick you, and in that team interrogating you, there will be an intelligence officer. You can't say they don't have a right to do that. Then what is their role? But I want us to protect our NIS, because it is our secret service. If you start discussing your secret service, my brothers and sisters, and you start exposing your secret service internationally, then you are killing your country. You are exposing a lot of secrets of your country. Never, never. And that is where I don't agree with C.S. Muturi. If ever he discussed with the president and the president told him, mtoto yako ako hapa. Are you getting me? Angetoka hapo as a minister, angenyamaza. Because he's still a cabinet minister. And you breach the trust between you and the president.
And the appointing authority.
So let us protect our secret agency as much as possible. We can fight with the Inspector General. We can fight with the Director of CID. But you can never fight with Nuruddin Haji. The guy can, let me tell you, there are things in this country that if are exposed by the intelligence service, who harmed who did what, let me tell you, hizi kabila zote hatuwezi patana. Tutapigana. So what I'm saying is, the way to bridge the gap is, number one, let us know protocols. Me, I don't stand on any side. I can't support government when it is wrong, because government is never the government you imagine. Everybody has an individual responsibility. That's why as a policeman, when you use the gun and you kill someone, you are charged as an individual.
Not the institution.
You must take individual responsibility. You know, sometimes you look at There are so many things which happen which the president doesn't know. And you know, these guys are not even obligated to tell him some of the... You know, the president is not told everything. Iko vitu zingine, my brother, kama washushu is a robber, na naibia watu. Do you think we will go and discuss with the president and tell the president tomorrow we are killing him? No. We find him, he has a gun, it is exchange, he will be killed. Because what do you do with a robber with a gun? You don't shoot him, he shoots you.
Now, Fanya Mambo.
So, no, ngoja tu. So, kuna vitu mingi tunalaumu rais. Na sisi watu wa security tunaweza fanya na ajui. Are you getting me? But akipata nimefanya na nimebreach the law, ataniuma. So, what we are saying, I know why government is keeping quiet currently, is that there are so many things happening underwater, which all of us don't know. Are you getting me? There are people planning, tufanye serikali hivi, tufanye hivi. There are also people who are in government who are rogue, talking carelessly. Me, what I would say is, if you are in government, keep your mouth shut. Because you are giving fodder to naysayers who are after bringing down government for their own personal interests. Unajua kuna watu unaweza kumuuliza, I've seen people saying they want to become president. They have even been ministers in charge of security. Somebody will ask you, what happened during your tenure? I just heard him ask about somebody called Juma. Mtu atakuuliza. You know, unasikia watu wanasema ati, President Ruto was vice president. Which deputy president? A deputy president is a principal assistant to the president. Even in a primary school, headmaster and the deputy headmaster is like a mono. He is to be seen but not to be heard. Another one tried here. What happened to him? You know, there are limitations to what you can do. So me, what I'm advising is simple. Government officers must learn to shut their mouths and not be gullible to be drawn into this discussion. The head of state will also be firm. If there's any government officer he meets to be rogue and is driving the state towards a collision and conflict with the public, the officer must also just go. These are some of the things that will help us when we live in reality. And what I want to tell my young brother, are you a Gen Z?
Millennial.
You're a millennial. You and Gen Zs, you can operate together. I want you to seek smart ways. Don't get into some of these discussions na kichwa yako. Umekuta mama yako has been slapped, you start telling your father, umepiga mama yangu, unaenda kupiga baba yako. Sijui kama unanipata. You think your father will tell you that your mother has a secret boyfriend? That your father will sit with you and start telling you, I've slapped your mother because... No, he can't.
on that note, because of the time,
Very quickly, I think I'll start.
I hope you're not responding to the last part of his conversation.
Yes. I'll start by paying him. And Mr. Charles Owino, allow me to tell you something.
Yes.
These parliamentarians who are giving us 4 complicated brackets of health, Taifa Care, there were too many, they had to be given a name so that they fit in there. They don't use it. What we are saying as Kenyans is simple. Give us the medical care that our MPs are using or bring them to this bracket. We cannot have a situation where our lawmakers have an insurance of 10 million, which we pay for, and then they are giving us a collection of 4 things that we don't want. What? No, yes.
Just a minute. I want to give you a background.
No, just
No. Also, I want to give you a background. We don't even earn similar salaries with them. Why can't they just earn like primary school teachers? You can carry on.
No, this is what I would like to say. They are busy going to parliament, making laws for the bulk of Kenyans that they don't want to be party to. If SHA, and everything else we've been told is good, let them abandon theirs and join the rest of Kenyans to use ours. I think we need to get to a situation whereby We cannot have the people we elect enjoying medical packages of up to 10 million and telling us that what they are giving us is good, but they don't want us to use what they are using. Either we use theirs or they join us in using these ones. We will not have two standards for Kenyans who were born and brought up on the same soil and took the same mother's milk as Kenyans. We don't want any excuse. We don't want to know how it came about or how it's going to go. It's simple. We are all Kenyans. We use what they are using or they use what we are using. We want to be harmonious with them. It is that simple, because the same taxes that are being given by Kenyans are the ones that are paying for them those medical bills. And that's why when somebody breaks a nose, they go to South Africa to get a nose repaired here. It's very insulting for us. So that's the one we want. Kama hatuwezi pata hiyo, wakuje kwa hii yetu. Simple. Now, my good friend Odoyo here, I think he's not in love with his supporters on the ground, and I think he wants to create an enmity with them because he keeps telling us things that wananchi are looking at him and wondering what's wrong. Kenyans take videos and photos of an abduction scenario, complete with number plates. Guess what? CID, the least of all, DCI, the least of all is to do a search of that number plate and tell us it belongs to Mungai or Joroge or Otieno or Kamau. We have not seen any investigations that are geared towards looking. In fact, sometimes Gen Zs are so good, they even share images of those people. Hata wakiwa wamevaa mask mnaonyeshwa huyu ni fulani. There has been no effort to look for those ones. The effort is concentrated on the abductee. Yeye ndio anataka aulizwe maswali, yeye ndio anakorofishwa, yeye ndio anaambiwa umenona, yeye ndio anaambiwa why are you not in a state of mind to tell us these things, but nobody wants to address, like, the least they should have said is that we have done a search on this number plate and we found it is a fake number plate or it belongs to a pickup and this is a Toyota Noah. That has not been said to us. In fact, Kenyans have not been treated to a situation whereby the government is interested in knowing who the abductors are. We've only been treated to a situation whereby we are supposed to know that the abductees had, KJ, my MP, the other day said on Citizen TV that these abductees had gone to see their boyfriends or girlfriends. That is the defense we are getting. Nobody wants to have a conversation about the abductor. That is why Kenyans are getting...
You're running against.
Well, no. I'm talking to the people of Dagoretti to vote for me. In fact, I am not interested in the occupant or who the other... It's like 100-meter race, and for me, I'm focused on the finishing line.
You are not being honest. Just admit that you are running for the seat.
No, I have made that very clear.
Whoever who is the incumbent, you are definitely running against him in case he will reseek the election. So don't run away from that.
I have made it always very clear that I'm vying for Dagoretti South. But I always make it clear that I'm this athlete who does not step on other people's lanes. I know my lane, and my focus is on the finish line. If KJ is here and a few others, and Dennis Wawero and many others, it's good. As long as everybody sticks to their lane. Let's not be these mannerless athletes who keep boxing others. We'll just focus on the finishing line.
I also want to help him. Also in politics, it's like... Odoyo and I, we have gone against the grain several times because we are principled. But there are also people who move the other side. Like, for example, if you happen to come from the Agikuyu community, and the Agikuyu are not in government, they are annoyed, they are not happy. I know an intelligent person who just wants to become an MP. We'll go on the side where his community is.
Mamonyoro.
Yeah, so like... Me, I'm a Jaluo, I'm supposed to go to it. Even now, I may not be able to get a good appointment in government because I've stuck with Kenya Kwanza. I should have gone back to Raila and kneeled down. But I have no reason. There's nothing wrong I've done to my community. There's nothing wrong I've done to him. And he's also in this government. If I deserve anything, I should get it. Those principles are very important. So as you go for elections, be careful so that, again, we don't reach the end term. Then again, you find the community. Just be principled. Just remain to your steadfast, even when you are losing. But I pray when you go to parliament, you will be a good parliamentarian.
I'm about to finish.
Yes,
because I usually go very quickly. Our good friend Owidi again spoke about that when we had demonstration, Kenya was losing 5 billion a day during the demonstrations. I wanted to tell him that Kenya loses more in times of peace. You wake up one morning, you hear E-Citizen has lost 15 billion and it's all over the newspapers and nothing happens. No even investigations. We are not told anything. It's just lost 15 billion like a sneeze in the air. We lose more in times of peace. This government wants us to have peace so that they can continue doing the things they are doing. Look at the 104 billion that has never been very well explained about this thing for health that we are being given many. Now it's even been called Taifa Care. Nobody wants to talk about that. What they want to talk about is kulikuwa na demonstration, we lost 5 billion. I submit to you, this country loses more when we have peace because they want peace to be able to do the things that Kenyans do not want them to do. He talks of Parliament having been breached. Parliament was not breached because they were making sukuma wiki for us and making life easy for us. Parliament was breached because they were breaching our lives. When we tell them...
No. Excuse me. You want to tell me that you support people going to attack the Parliament?
That is what I was coming to. I have never... In fact, I have made it very clear on every show I've attended to, that going to Parliament or entering State House was not a good thing. However, at the same time, when Kenyans are telling you stop, what you are doing is just too much, it's good to listen. Because Kenyans did not wake up as a situation when MPs were making legislation to return a Linda Mama so that their mothers can give birth properly, and Kenyans stormed Parliament. It was happening at a time when MPs were telling them, tutapitisha hii bill mpende msipende. And they were sending police to beat us up for us saying that we do not want that bill to pass. One of the reasons some MPs are finding it very hard to go back home is not because, like our friend likes saying here, because some Kikuyus don't want any other person to govern this country. The reason some MPs are finding it hard to go home is because they were being told, wait, don't pass finance bill as it is. This is what Kenyans want. And then you go to Parliament and you do exactly what the people have told you not to do. There was nothing wrong in the head of state doing what he did after the demonstration. Why do you wait for things to go so bad and then stop the finance bill? Can you imagine if President Ruto, because he received a lot of NIS intelligence, he should have said, wait a minute. We have decided to increase the time for discussions on this thing. We have decided to wait a minute, because now they started even saying that they're removing the controversial parts of it. So I've always said, if I was head of state today, there are specific things you look at and ask yourself, is it the end of the world if we listen to Kenyans?
So Fanya Mambo, if you're unhappy with your member of parliament, you breach parliament.
No, when you are, the thing is, let's sometimes some of us are always blaming the victim. You're always saying that the problem is these young people who invade parliament, but you're not asking yourself, what is it that would lead people to come and face guns and bullets and say that if you have to kill me and kill me? I think we need to address that. You need to be a government that says, before it gets to a place where people will tell you, unaona sai watu wanaenda approach abductors wanaambia mtatuua sisi wote lakini hamta abduct you. You have to get to the point where you say, wait a minute. Where are we going wrong as government? Because you keep thinking that the person coming to you is wrong, but government has never accepted they are wrong at any point in time. We have 80 young people missing. I remember Kanja going to parliament and speaking and saying he doesn't know where 62 are in parliament. So when he says that, what do you want us to do? And Kenyans are angry.
Let me tell you my experience. Just a minute, before Widi comes, let me tell you, it's a debate, we can help each other. Let me tell you my experience. Do you know we have Kenyans still in Somalia that even their parents don't know how they ended up in Somalia and they are members of Al-Shabaab? Mimi, with the kind of situation we have in Kenya, I can't tell whether, let me be forgiven for this, and it may come out, I can't tell whether some boys have been sent somewhere.
Sorry, some?
I don't even know whether boys have been sent out of the country. Do you know these things can happen? This is a hypothesis. You can even find situations, yes, some may be with police, if they are, but police have said they're not with them. But we have one case which people have said was with the other team, which the other team does not speak about. But let us also be careful. You can find a child lives here, joins Al-Shabaab, you don't know. Unasikia tu mtu wako ISIS, you don't know. In this kind of situations where we have had people want to overthrow government, you find yourself also in a situation where these people want to overthrow government. People can be in the bush somewhere, you never know. But we don't want to say that at this stage. Government has obligation to tell us where these people are. And some of us who are close to government, we are pushing day and night. What is the information? What are these people doing? And let us not be in a hurry to make conclusions until we reach a certain level. But Owidi, I want you to dwell on something. You know, no Kenyan wants to tell us our economic situation as at June 2022. As at June 2022, our debt standing was taking 70% of our GDP. As at June 2022, because you know the first charge to consolidated fund is debt. Our tax revenues, our debt obligation against our tax revenues was running to slightly over 50%. Why?
I think that requires
just a minute.
It requires a full session.
Yeah, because no, just a brief thing. Because the government was not bold to even add taxes. You see, it's like Fuliza. When Kibaki left us in 2012, our threshold for tax was so huge. It's like today, your Fuliza is 30,000. Then, your grandfather has only used 5,000. We're back in at 25. Then you, yourself, you spend 24. Mm-hmm. Are you getting me? Of Fuliza, umebakisha 1 shilling. Every time you wanted something for your wife, unaenda kwa Fuliza. Every time, unaenda kwa Fuliza. Alafu, you leave for your son 1 shilling. Then your son has no alternative. He must get money from tax to run the country. I'm not against my president, Uhuru Kenyatta. I love him so much. But in his government, the guys who come from his community will never talk about this. That why was Ruto taxing us? Because all the tax threshold.
There's no fiscal space.
Are you getting me? Mm. But we are not going to accuse him. We are going to say, can we fix it?
Yeah, looking at the future.
How would we do what? How do we fix this problem? Because now we don't have that obligation. And we never want in this country to accuse any president. Akiwa mtu, akiwa na bahati yawe hai, he will be dealt with by the coming government. Are you getting me? Mm-hmm. So what we are saying is we don't want to accuse our president's foundation. But let Kenyans tell us, in this country we have even been told that Eurobond, which President Ruto pay it for?
Haikufika.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard them make noise. Anyway, I don't want to be against any community. I don't want to be against anybody. But what we must remember, when we do well, when our economy does well, like when Kibaki's economy did well, he gave us as policemen 100% salary. Policemen is the only institution which is discriminated, that children of the poor man are supposed to go to, children of single mothers are supposed to go to. And I'm telling you, the children of the single mothers out of Kibaki, when he gave us 100% pay rise, when the economy improved, they managed to buy an acre or two and settle their president, and settle their mothers.
On that note, later we'll come in. It's been very.
I normally.
Been very patient.
Sometimes when you break somebody's line of thought, you destroy him. But let me get back to a few things. Many of these shows that you see, that somebody's being abducted, this is happening here. Panya Mambo is telling us about sijui cars were shown, sijui people were shown. I have watched one TV station. The only case of abduction they are showing, I think there's a CCTV camera from inside the shop.
The one at a stall.
And the guy is being abducted out. Neither the faces nor the vehicle is shown. And that is all they have. But they keep on rubbing it into people that number plates have been shown, vehicles have been shown, people have been shown. We want to hear these abductees talk and tell us their story. We don't want to hear that state of mind. State of mind, and you are looking very healthy. Parliament was not breached by young people. Parliament was breached by hooligans who have been hired and paid by detractors of President William Ruto's government. And let me also tell you about the finance bill. It was not only passed by MPs from Murima, because it is only MPs from Murima, about some of them are not going home. That place you are taking us, we passed through it. There was a time in Luoland when if you are anti the Odingaism, your vehicle would be burnt right outside your door. There was a man in Homa Bay, 7 buses were burnt. There was another one in Riwa, 5 lorries were burnt, including hardware. That is how you take over hostile. And the hostile takeover of Mount Kenya by Rigiji is evident to everyone. You know, Owino can be a bit, I don't mince my words. I say it as it is.
You're a civilian?
Yes.
I'm not.
And you keep on rubbing to us here 104 billion Taifa Care. Nobody paid anybody that money. Let me repeat it to you. The whole thing was worth 104 billion by the time 30 years would be over. And split that 104 billion to 47 counties. You see, this system that was going to run Taifa Care digitally, in which you fall sick, you are unable to talk because you are in an accident, and you get to Voi Hospital, and the only thing they need is your name and ID number, and they will get all your records where you have been treated, everything. And that system was going to be paid by the patients. Pole, you go, they take 10 bob off your visit to pay for that. It was going to be worth 104 billion at the end of it. There was nothing paid for at 104 billion, nothing. We get a problem when we talk about the value of something and we assume that was paid. There was a time when I was chairman, Lake Basin Development Authority, a mall was built at a cost of 4.6 billion. The people who were arrested were being treated as if they had stolen that 4.6 billion when the mall is standing there. Because people don't want to think, they are too lazy to think logically. That is why even educated people like you and many others cannot distinguish between Shah and Shif. They can't. They keep on telling you, Shah, Shif, Shah.
Given him a quick saving.
You will not remember. And let me tell you, you tell us, the other day we hear, not everything you hear is true. If you pay that everything you hear is true, you are given propagandists a field day. And you know propagandists, those people who come and tell you, I know this, I know that, I will give you the information at appropriate time. One such person is Rigiji. I know the policeman who abducts people, he's operating on 6th what floor of a house in town, I will give you today, he has not given us that information. Propagandists don't give you the full information because that gives you the leeway to interrogate and find him. Let me also tell you something about the abductions. Today, every lost person in Kenya is reported as abducted. And this abduction, since the media introduced the word abduction, because this thing was very well planned. On day one, when the street protest by the so-called Gen Zs was also a creation of, because the media is a co-conspirators and was incorporated into the anti-Ruto uprising. They are today.
Is that a fair statement?
It is fair. Today I was reading The Nation. Let me just mention them because I don't mind them.
You are like saying the policeman. When one policeman has caused a problem.
No. Media houses here in this country, the mainstream one are only 4.
Yeah.
And I have been to them. Today, you find a newspaper of the reputation of nation writing the president was ranting. What is that? And if you see they are reporting other things which are anti-government, they use very civil language. But when you are there reporting president, even if it is a defense of an accusation, they say that the president is ranting. Honestly, I think we need some. So,
are you not exposing yourself to litigation?
These people have exposed themselves more. You know, some of these things the so-called opposers of the government are doing are treasonable. Breaching parliament is treasonable. The same way you find somebody breaching your cattle pen. It's so criminal that many people lynch you and nothing happens. But remember,
in case nation takes you to court, you're on your own.
There were some letters. There were some letters that are being told that the Kenyans have written to international community, to ICC. Those things are planned and organized. They even decide who is going to write and who is not going to write. So let us not be cheated. And you see, the international community, the unfortunate thing, they also get the information about Kenya from the Kenyan media. The day before yesterday, I saw another lady on TV telling us he was to talk about the legality of the new social media must have presence in Kenya. And she was very busy talking how it is very bad how ladies are being lynched on social media. Let me use that. But when it comes the way the president is being used in social media, he wants the president to be patient. He sees nothing wrong with it. If it is wrong for me to slander you in a public rally, it is also wrong to do it on social media. So the crimes we commit on social media, insults, slander, defamation, libel, even if they happen on social media, they are as bad as they have happened elsewhere. So we can't accept that social media is okay. Some boy can go and sit in the slums of Kibera, take the photo of the president's wife, strip her naked and post it all over. And suspecting people will believe it. It is wrong. In fact, you are very good you got President William Ruto. During Moi, such nonsense would not happen. During Kibaki and Uhuru, such nonsense. Uhuru shut all the media houses. And the Gen Zs were existing. In fact, that time you were probably a Gen Z. And you said nothing. Because Uhuru was one of the people from Murema.
No.
Don't say no, it is the truth. Is there a lie there? Is it Uhuru from Murema? Did Uhuru shut media houses?
Uhuru is not Uhuru, Uhuru is President Uhuru.
Okay, President.
Remember that.
No. When you are in a place like this, there's no time to start. Even Ruto have not called him His Excellency here. And he knows from where he sits, he understands where I'm coming from. So, if we are going to treat all these crimes against people differently when they are done on social media and when they are done out here in the physical, then let us know. You know, the plan that these people made when they met, they were going to oppose anything the president, even something as noble as vaccination of livestock, walipinga. The other day I saw a video going around of a lady who has gone to Ministry of Health to rant. And you could see huyu ametumwa, video imetumwa huko, take her, she rants in the boardroom and says all those things and take it out there.
First of all, how did she even get access?
Yes, these things are planted.
How do you even get access to the minister's boardroom? Kama si kazi ya ndani.
And so, you know, Fanya Mambo, just to finish with the last thing you said about MPs should be treated like us ordinary people. There are two questions I would like you to answer. Hii kitu unataka MPs and such people to be treated the same way as ordinary oloipoloi. It has been tried in which of the 89 countries of the world? Has it been tried anywhere?
They are not 89, they are more.
Whether they are more or not.
Okay.
And two, no.
The same service.
Yes, and you have the option.
The Inspector General earns highest, but he's not the one who does the biggest.
You know, this guy is appealing to the Holoi Poloi going to vote for him in Dagoretti South. Sasa hata sisi tutakuwa kama wajumbe.
Dagoretti South hakuna Holoi Poloi. Sisi tunaomba awe mjumbe na akatae mshahara na akatae privilege.
Tuone akienda kupanga laini Kenyatta Hospital na wengine hataenda.
Nataka kuona.
Okay, now because of time.
Akikataa mshahara.
Because of time.
Na privileges.
Owidi, please take 1 minute to give your closing remarks.
Mokua, today you left. You know, we needed to have discussed a lot of what happened over the weekend. There were a lot of politics that took place over the weekend that we should have talked about. In fact, I may move a motion that we come here in the week to talk about the politics that took place from Muturi, from what we had in Bondo, from Owino's governor talking a lot of funny things and all those many things. But nevertheless,
then in that case, we will like
nevertheless, my final statement is let us all share the resources of this country equally, including leadership positions. Anybody from any part of this country can be a president like anybody else. I have heard people talking about we must stop the president using tribal war to divide this country. If there is anybody doing that and they don't talk about it, it is Rigathi Gachagua. I heard him yesterday and telling the Mount Kenya people, God willing, I am going to take you, the people of Mount Kenya, into government. Honestly, is that a person worth leading? And let me tell you, you, the Kikuyu, you are playing with fire. you are creating a monster which will eat you. In fact, if he one day wakes up and thinks that he doesn't like your head, you diabetes out utaona kwa view sasa. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. I mean, please, in the interest of time.
I think first and foremost, I took a swipe at the former DP and I made it very clear. I said, let us remove this word Itugati from his ranks because Itugati makes him appear like a tribal leader, which they're just gallant soldiers. It was used in 1952. It was used in 1952. Those were the Mau Mau people who fought together. And anyway, not important. I think as we come to an end, I would like to say this. I liked what I saw in the newspapers that he doesn't like when we were shown friends of the president, people he's allowed to come to State House and he met them. And we saw where they were coming from and who they were. I think that's another topic that needs to be discussed very much because I think that appointment should have been given to somebody else. Anyway, at the time, as I finished completely, at the time when Kenya was having a deficit and we were spending 70% of our money, I remember having come out very strongly and opposed the idea of giving First Lady 700 million because one of the ways that we were showing frugality and saving money, 700 million. That was what was going to the First Lady's office, and then the Rigichi's office was getting 700 million for his wife, and then Mudavadi was getting 500 million, and State House was being renovated at $1 billion, and the head of state was flying. In fact, alikuwa na land, I think, analetewa suitcase kwa airport, anarudi tena. There was no time to just even go home and change. He made so many trips, so that was a very frugal way of spending money. And that's why we made a lot of noise. And I remember him coming and cancelling all those. Hata kwanza Gen Z tulimground up for some time. He didn't fly for some time. We made sure we saved a lot of money from him not going around. The people who are doing very well, like the soldier from Burkina Faso, he's not done that by doing 1 million trips. He knows the solutions to the problems of Burkina Faso are within the borders of Burkina Faso. He doesn't have to go around all over the world looking for solutions. He has resolved most of their problems from home.
Wait a minute. We may need to extend the show by another 1 minute. What metrics can you place on the table to support your assertion that he's doing very well?
Okay, you see,
any metrics you can place on the table.
No, I'll tell you. Number one, we have seen what he has done for the doctors. The number of vehicles that are being given to doctors, the mobile clinics, all those things are visible. And everywhere he goes, he's being celebrated. By the way, they attended the same function in Ghana with most of your presidents, including the ones that you guys are defending so fiercely here. None of those ones was celebrated. Ours was not even celebrated. This guy is being celebrated for what he's doing for his people. In fact, when he said that he would like to step down and give room for elections, they told him you are staying in office. So we are watching what is happening in Burkina Faso very closely.
Mambo, I have to come in again and say that you've now perfected the art of disinformation.
No.
around
was our celebrated?
Let me tell you something, Mokua. Do you expect the media in Burkina Faso to go against a person who has to come to power through military? You, as you sit in Nairobi, the only information you are getting is the one which has officially been released there by that government. And what you are consuming is propaganda. There used to be a country north of Kenya called Eritrea. When they were fighting to secede from Ethiopia, they were very happy. Today, if an Eritrean gets out of Eritrea, he never goes back. They wanasoma paka SMSs. But the media doesn't report. You have a free media here, which has decided to side with the opposition, and they tell you what you want to hear. Please, find your own information. Wachana na hii media. They tell you what they want you to know.
Okay, let me complete.
I think I'm done.
Complicated your life of thoughts.
I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to argue with Owidi.
Just now you love, for you love 3 minutes. As you give your concluding remarks, there's this accusation that the Kenya Kwanza administration has got a crisis communication, that what's happening from the state, including NCC, is policy dissemination, not policy communication. A number of signature events like what you've discussed about healthcare reforms, nobody seems to know. There are everybody within the MDS, people fear talking about the successes, and it's up to people like Owidi who are struggling to position the signature events.
Kutereza sio kuanguka. You know, I want you briefly to understand the history of this government. This government of President William Ruto is Kenya Kwanza. When it was coming into place, when he was campaigning against the side that a sitting president was supporting, and a powerful, popular former prime minister who also has activist blood in him, no one believed that President William Ruto would win this election. And therefore, you will find that majority of very good people in government were drawn into politics. And when you form a government, you may find that it is very difficult to pick people who never supported you. It's very difficult to trust them and bring them into government. So the president came into this government with a very thin threshold. You know the ministers he picked. You know they have left, and some number of them. He brought in another group. Some have left even without, for a very short time. And you can now see he has picked some of guys who are in Uhuru government. Kagwe did well in health. He has also picked Lee. I know many people have their opinion about William. I've known William since when we were very young. I knew William. No, William Kabogo. I'm just saying. I've just said that the former minister Kagwe, I'm sure many people trust him from Uhuru government. The work he did during health. Yeah. We have Lee Kinyanjui. He's been a member of parliament. He's been assistant minister. He has been a governor. And people know what he has done when he was governor, especially in terms of health in Nakuru. We have William, which many people don't understand well. He has been governor Kiambu. And I believe Kiambu people knows what he did on health. I don't know why you are laughing, but I believe Kabogo did very well, fairly on health. I've known him for a very long time. He was not from a poor background. His parents in Ruiru still live in the house his father built. He has not changed this. It's not like me who changed my mother's grass-thatched house. Anyway, so I believe the persons that the president has been trying to pick people, he has also picked people from the other side. He has picked Oparanya, one of the most successful governors, I can say, from what he did in Kakamega. Kakamega neighbors my county. I know Oparanya did a super good job. He has picked Mbadi. I don't know much about his background in government, but he's in parliament. I've seen him trying his level best where he is. He has picked Wandai from the other side. So he has mixed his government after struggling for a while because of the background of where he came from. Now, communication is also another area. That is why government is trying to come up with what we call National Communication Center. You know, the structure of government is the overall spokesperson for government is the president. Then all MDAs, ministers, are supposed to be spokesmen for their ministries and their permanent secretaries to deputize them. CEOs of parastatals of institutions are supposed to be spokesmen. Even a headmaster of Alliance is the spokesperson for Alliance High School. But government messaging sometimes needs to be structured. I know people say we have State House spokesperson. He's spokesperson for the presidency, discussing issues in the State House. We have government spokesperson who can digress into all ministries. But the National Communication Center ought to be a repository, a depository, and advisory center, where you look at every ministry and you reposit as much information as possible. Purpose of communication in government is so that you interact with the public. You listen to them. And you also explain to them what you are doing so that you bridge that gap. Government is a democratic government by the people, for the people, and they deserve to know what is happening in government. And that is why when you have a loose opposition that is ranting and government is not responding with facts, then you are bound to fail. Currently, as I speak, we are developing the national communication strategy and the national communication policy, which should be ready in maybe less than a month's time and be put before cabinet. You heard him talk about the finance bill. There were many things in that finance bill that were right, but maybe because of communication, the public did not get to know about them. And that is why in the amendment bill, when they came up with an explainer in the newspapers, it was jargon. Public cannot understand it. And one of the areas was on pension. It was in the finance bill and it was in the amendment bill. The pensions was such that before the amendment of this bill, you would be taxed. Your pension would be taxed at least 30%, unless you have reached mandatory retirement age. Mandatory retirement age in Kenya is 65. Everybody must retire at 65, including, because persons with disability are allowed to go beyond 60 to 65. So if you are to retire before 65, then you are supposed to be taxed almost 30%. But now, as long as you have worked you have contributed for 21 years, meaning anybody who started working at 29 years and below, even if you retire at 50, then your pension will not be taxed. We had even things like on meals, where there's a relief for like big factories, big companies which provide meals. They were given threshold of 3,000, 36,000 per year as a relief if you provide meals to your employees. So what happened is that it was increased from 3,000 to 5,000. Now they have a relief of 60,000 per employee. It has a lot of implications. The employees don't, like our employees who come from Kibera going to work to industrial area, they can be able to get meals. They can be able to save their money. They are able to have good morale. They are able to produce better and so on and so forth. We even had the issue of taxation of digital platform because we wanted to expand the base of taxation. Where in the digital platform, what we are doing is that the owners of digital platforms, come as a Uber, we were not taxing them. Now we are taxing them so that we can leave. So a number of issues. Those are some of the things that NCC is supposed to do. Look at technical issues, make them in manner that they can be communicated and communicate to the public. We are even developing an e-baraza where members of the public will be able to interact, will be able to raise up issues. And what we are saying is that we need to discuss factually and see how do we grow our country. And these leaders that we may not like, just wait for them when elections come. So lastly, we are not defending the man, William Samoei Ruto. We are defending the Constitution of Kenya.
Thanks,
Just
Charles.
a minute, which tells us that a government will be established in accordance to the Constitution. Not an individual getting excited and saying they can go to State House and remove the president. To me, it doesn't matter who sits in State House. What matters is, can we run an organized country with a vibrant economy? We are not living forever. We are going to die. Why should I suffer when I'm alive?
Okay, thanks, Charles.
He's a government spokesman. So next time you bring him alone. Because he has so much to say and we can't. But let me say 2 sentences. One about the social media.
Yeah.
When that thing came up, people think the social media is going to be gagged. If you are in my place where my Facebook account was brought down by criminals and I have nowhere to go, I needed to go somewhere and say, this is what has happened. So bringing the officers here is also good for the people online. And 2, the president's guests. The people are saying that the president hosted a criminal. Did you read what he's being accused of? If that was to be, if Kenyans were to be in the United States, all of us would be jailbirds. But what he did in Kenya, nobody would even appear in court for. So I think we need to be honest people. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Charles Owino. Thanks for your time. Fanya Mambo, Kinuthia, today you are a bit humbled. I don't know whether you didn't take your right quantities of coffee.
Niko naangalia.
Thanks for your time. Your time. That has been Far Side, the home of politics, policy, and polity. We are actually adjourning. I'm hoping that we'll have the same panel over the weekend because it's unfinished business. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks, sir.